Welcome to the January 6th, 2026 annual organizational meeting of the Mendocino County Board of Supervisors. It is 9:01 a.m. We'll call the meeting to order and invite the clerk to conduct the roll call.
Supervisor Klein?
Here.
Supervisor Mulhern?
Here.
Supervisor Hashak?
Present.
Supervisor Norvell?
Here.
Supervisor Williams?
Here.
We'd like to invite Supervisor Norvell to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. All right, we will start with our regular calendar. Agenda item R1, discussion and possible action, including election of the chair and vice chair of the Mendocino County Board of Supervisors for the 2026 calendar year. Sponsor is clerk of the board. At this time, are there any nominations for the chair and vice chair for 2026?
I'll nominate. Oh, you go ahead. I'll nominate Supervisor Norvell for the chair and Supervisor Williams for vice chair.
Second.
All right, is there any public comments on this item?
Seeing none in chambers and none online.
Perfect. All right, we'll proceed with a roll call vote.
Supervisor Klein?
Aye.
Supervisor Mulhern?
Yes.
Supervisor Hashak?
Aye.
Supervisor Norvell?
Yes.
Supervisor Williams?
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. And at this time, we'll pass it over to the new chair, Supervisor Norvell.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to bring us to item R2, discussion and possible action, including acceptance of informational reports from the assessor, clerk, recorder, register of voters, acting auditor, auditor, controller, tax collector, district attorney, sheriff, and various department heads or designees. We have one.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Sherry Johnson, Human Resource Director. I would like to give you an update on the County Health Officer status. So unfortunately, the last round didn't end up with a hire. There was a job offer, but the applicant had declined the offer. So the County Health Officer has formally been launched as a new recruitment and has been open for a little over 2 weeks. As of yesterday, there have been 5 applicants. On one qualifying, and so we're working with the executive recruiter once again, and so we have some tentative dates that we're hoping to start screening in February 10th and February 12th, and then hopeful to bring it to the board with an applicant by February 24th. So just want to keep you updated that we're still working on that, but haven't not been successful yet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, Ms. Johnson, you said you hoped that there would be you'd be bringing something to the board by January 24th?
February.
February.
Yeah,
Okay,
February.
thank you.
Thank you.
No one else in the room? Madam Clerk, are there any department heads online?
Seeing none.
All right, we'll move to public comment on this item. Seeing none in the room, Madam Clerk,
Seeing none online.
and I don't believe there's any action on this item, correct?
Through the chair, if I may, you could go with the recommended action, which is to accept any informational reports, or you could continue past the item, whichever is preferred.
All right, we'll entertain a motion to accept the presentation.
Move approval. Second.
First by Supervisor Williams, seconded by Supervisor Hashcheck. Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Klein?
Aye.
Supervisor Mulhern?
Yes.
Supervisor Hashak?
Yes.
Supervisor Norvell?
Yes.
Supervisor Williams?
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, and Ms. Bearden has been kind enough to point out my first mistake as chair, so we will go backwards in the agenda to the consent calendar. Is there anything, Madam Clerk, has the proper notice been established?
Proper notice has been established and all correspondence, if any received, has been sent to your email. And through the chair, if I may, would you consider going to public expression before consent?
On?
Uh.
Yes, yes, we'll go back twice. All right, we'll open up, my apologies for today. We'll open up the room to public comment on non-agenda items. Yes, sir. Please state your name for the record.
This about transparency and how we realize that democracy isn't perfect, and some of us have a vision for this area, and sometimes that vision doesn't always come together. But the one thing that we should, that I really want the board to realize is that transparency is a big deal, and it allows us all to participate in what's going on. And so the Veterans Hall from the past year, I know that there was no transparency or not much transparency with that. And it ended up being stagnant and us having to go backwards and spending a lot of money. So I also, want to mention that there's other things that I can go into as far as transparency, the cannabis deal, and there's other things. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but we really want to have the space for the public to participate. We need you to continue to outreach, and I don't know how else to put it. The backdoor deals, the visions in your mind need to include us also. And it may not be the smallest things, but certain things that we've been over for the last year, if there was more transparency, I think we would have a lot more answers and a lot more path to the future of what will help all of us. So my comment this morning is, please keep that in mind. There's some small things that you're going to have to deal with backdoor, but if it comes to something that is like 10,000 feet to 20,000 square feet, or just disrupting veterans or older folks who are used to doing their pattern, they're not used to having some kind of disruption all of a sudden, we need to keep this in mind. And I would like to, again, say that transparency should include radio spots, should include the journal, Ukiah Daily Journal emails, and I know our county is really strapped for money, but we have a lot of ideas out here, and we can do things on the cheap. But you have to include us, really include us. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in the room? Madam Clerk, anyone online?
Seeing none online.
All right, we will now move on to the consent calendar. Is there any item that the board would like to pull? Hashtag?
Yeah, I'd like to pull items C5
Okay. For a separate vote or for discussion?
for a separate vote.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, so C5 has been pulled. Public comment on the consent calendar? Nobody in the room, Madam Clerk?
Seeing none.
All right, we'll bring it back to the board or entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar minus C5.
I'll move approval of the consent.
Second.
First by Mulhern, second by Haschek. Madam Clerk? Yes, sir.
Just a question. Are we also meeting do we have a consent item for air quality district? Item C14. Are we meeting as the district for that item? Clarifying question.
Yes, the board should adjourn as the Board of Supervisors and meet as the Air Quality District Board for the item for the Air Quality District.
If I may, through the chair, C14 is HR.
But it's a air quality management district position that we're modifying. I would think we'd have to meet as a district for that.
I believe the item, because it is for the Air District, would meet as the board would meet as the Air District. I think that's what previously.
So Chair, is the motion to approve all but C14 and then reconvene as the air quality management district to approve C14?
I believe it was your motion.
It was not.
No? Pardon me?
Yes, it was.
Moore?
That was exactly my motion.
Minus C14 and C5. And the second? All right. And we took public comment. Madam Clerk, if you'd take a vote, call the roll, please.
Supervisor Klein?
Aye.
Supervisor Mulhern?
Yes.
Supervisor Hashak?
Yes.
Chair Norvell?
Yes.
Supervisor Williams?
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, so previously in the last year, we have been taking poll consent items at the end of the meeting. My understanding is that is not in our rules, and that was at the discretion of the chair. So unless for this particular meeting, the Supervisor Hashcheck, you have a reason to not take it right now, I'd like to take C5 now.
You want to deal with C14? Do we need to?
We'll go C5 first.
Okay. Well, I pulled C5 because it has to do with our appointments to the IWPC. And, we have had Supervisor Klein as our representative and Supervisor Mulhern as the alternate. This past year, we had a resolution that was brought forward by Supervisors Klein and Norvell, and then we had the alternate that was approved by the board, so that resolution was approved by a vote of 3-2, and it just seems like that resolution was to support the work that's been done by the IWPC and continue on with education and looking for alternate solutions for the storage and everything. And so I just think that maybe we should have, I would like to see a person who supported that resolution be our representative on the IWPC. And so that would be Supervisor Mulhern, and have Supervisor Klein as the alternate.
Okay, Supervisor Klein?
Well, I want to start off by saying I disagree with the characterization of what happened earlier this year. I was very clear about the second resolution. I asked for some amendments to be taken, and I was interested in supporting that resolution if there was a willingness to amend a certain provision. That aside, I'm not sure that Supervisor Hashak, you understand what the Public Policy Facilitating Committee is, because it has nothing to do officially with IWPC and the appointment. The Public Policy Facilitating Committee is a group, like a multi-agency stakeholder group, that meets to discuss the biological opinion having to do with Lake Mendocino and the Russian River. So you might want to hold these comments for later, because this is not the appointment to IWPC.
Anyone else?
I can also add some clarity about how often this group meets. They haven't met. I served as the appointee last year. They didn't meet last year. They meet once every couple of years. Because there have been some updates to the biological opinion, it's likely to meet sometime this spring, I have heard. But again, this is not IWPC.
Well, if that's the case and the appointment happens during the appointment part in the regular agenda, then we can certainly hold off on this and see what happens with the appointments.
Okay. As hold off, as in not take action, is that what you're suggesting?
Right.
Okay, on this particular item. All right, is there any public comment on this item? C5? None in the room. Madam Clerk?
Seeing none online.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the board. There's been one recommendation that we wait on this item, or we will entertain a motion to approve the recommended action or an alternative action.
Well, I thought we were going to wait on the item until after the regular appointments, which is
Yes, that was,
R7.
yes, that was yours. I'm fine with moving forward with it, unless if the board wants to take a straw vote on what they want to do, if they want to take action now, or they want to wait until after. Either way.
I'm fine with waiting until after the appointments or doing it right now, either way.
Supervisor Williams, do you have an opinion?
No, but it sounds like two want to wait. I'm happy to wait.
Okay. So I guess we will bring this back after that regular agenda item. Why don't we make it the end of the meeting? All right. So we will move on. We will take C14. Madam Clerk, I don't have the language. Thank you.
The Board of Supervisors will now go into recess for items C14 and will convene as the Board of Directors of Air Quality Management District. The Mendocino County Board of Supervisors does not receive any additional compensation or stipend for acting as the Board of Mendocino County Air Quality Management District.
Thank you. Item C14, adoption of resolution amending the position allocation table as follows. Budget Unit 0327, Air Quality Management District. Add 1 FTE, Staff Assistant 3 at $45,760 to $55,598.40 annually. Any questions from the board? Supervisor Williams?
Move approval of C14.
Okay, we have
Second.
a first and a second. Any public comment on C14? None in the room. Madam Clerk?
Seeing none online.
All right, back to the board. We have a first by Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Mulhern. Madam Clerk, if you take roll.
Supervisor Mulhern?
Yes.
Supervisor Hashak?
Aye.
Chair Norvell?
Yes.
Supervisor Klein?
Aye.
Supervisor Williams?
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously. The directors will now recess as the Mendocino County Air Quality Management District and will reconvene as the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, and now we will move on to agenda item R3, discussion and possible action, including approval or denial of requests from department heads and elected officials regarding budget impacts, funding, and recruitment of vacant or new positions following the strategic hiring process. Ms. Parker.
Good morning. Denise Parker, the Director of Social Services, and I submitted my strategic hiring forms and documents requesting a full-time position for the Community Health Service Specialist 1 and an Extra Help Community Health Service Specialist 1. To include the funding behind that, or the amount, the full-time position will range from $74,080 to $90,000. And the average total cost for Extra Help is $58,827 to $71,000. I am here to remind the board that the Department of Social Services was not subject to the countywide 6% reduction, as the department does not receive county general fund support, with the exception of Veteran Services, Public Administration, Public Guardian programs, which are not realigned programs. Additionally, to ensure no county general fund impact, the department has absorbed the budget reductions that has well exceeded the equivalent of a 6% reduction.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? No? Supervisor Williams.
Does the CEO recommend approval?
If I may, through the chair, we have, the executive office is bringing all items for hiring to the board for discussion. The extra help is a position that ends as of June 30th when the grant ends. And then the other position is no impact to general fund or realignment, and is tied to CalAIM, which is grant funded and Medi-Cal funded. So we defer to the board to the decision, but it will be no impact to general fund and realignment.
Supervisor Haschak.
Well, it seems like this is one of those positions that is providing essential services to the people of Mendocino County, so I would support it.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more questions from the board? No? All right, well, thank you. We'll take public comment.
Thank you.
Anybody in the room? None? Madam Clerk?
Seeing none online.
Okay. Back to the board. We have a first by Supervisor Haschak, seconded by Supervisor Williams. Madam Clerk, if you take roll, please.
Chair Norvell,
Yes.
Supervisor Haschak,
Aye.
Supervisor Klein,
Aye.
Supervisor Mulhern, Supervisor Williams.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Parker. All right, we will move on to item R4, discussion and possible action, including adoption of resolution adopting the Board of Supervisors rules of procedure. I believe this is brought by the clerk of the board.
Good morning, Atlas Pearson, Senior Deputy Clerk of the Board. Yes, attached to the item, you will find a clean version of the revised rules of procedure along with a red line. This year, we made a few minor modifications to incorporate some existing county policy into the rules of procedure. So if there are any questions, myself or County Council are available to answer them.
Thank you, sir. Supervisor Williams?
Yeah, I have slight concern on page 6 of the red line, Rule 16. Quote, the clerk of the board may require that items be submitted earlier than the Monday, 2 weeks preceding the regular meeting to account for holidays and other periods of limited staffing. The limited staffing, you know, if it's a day or two, we have to get items in early, that's fine. But if we have limited staffing and, you know, it's a week or 2 weeks, I don't think that's reasonable. The board is supposed to be running its meeting, and it seems like we're setting a rule that's a bit vague. So I could use clarity. If we're talking about a couple days, somebody's sick, that's one thing. But if we're talking about extended periods, like you can't submit an item in the month of December because of holidays, I think it's unacceptable.
Through the chair, if I may.
Please.
Yes, so this was recommended to be added, and it's primarily accounting for around the holidays whenever we bump submission deadlines up. So due to the holiday, all the items have to go through approval queues. So historically for the organizational meeting, the submission deadline is 3 weeks instead of 2. We wanted to include that here. So it's not just limited staffing within clerk of the board. It's actually going to be, you know, for the people who have to approve the items before they come to you. It's not something we do often, but it is just one of those things where occasionally, if a holiday falls on the deadline or something like that, we will bump it up a few days. That's kind of what we were trying to cover under this rule.
Thank you, sir. Supervisor Haschak?
Well, I think that there should also be a inclusion of the chair into this, that the clerk of the board and the chair agree to it, and that the whole board be notified that the timeline has been changed.
Supervisor Williams?
And obviously, there are unforeseen circumstances where something needs to get on an agenda, right? This is, I would treat this as, I can support it if it's a guideline. We should all try to get it in early. Don't stress our staff around holidays and vacations to work up till the last minute, by all means. But I think we should also recognize that we're doing the people's business. There are instances where something that wasn't foreseen in advance needs to get on an agenda in a timely manner. Is that, Chair, would you say that my concern is inherently addressed?
It is. I can see your concern for sure. I think the clerk did a good job of explaining why. If you've got alternative language that you'd like to recommend, I'd be happy to hear it.
I would suggest replacing the word require with request. Keep it as a good faith.
Okay. Clerk, is that something that you find reasonable and you can live with?
Alice Pearson, Senior Deputy Clerk of the Board. Sure, if it's the will of the board. I will note that we do have an extension process. So we regularly take in items after this deadline. If we get a request for an extension, it's something that came up or it needs to be submitted later. That is something we routinely offer. But if it's the will of the board, we can make this change.
Okay. Anybody else like to comment on? Supervisor Haschek?
Yeah, I would like to reword it to say the clerk of the board along with the chair of the board. And then at the end, add another sentence saying that the whole board will be notified of any changes.
I can support that.
Okay. And so I don't think we've done public comment yet, correct? Yeah, Supervisor Haschek?
I wanted 17. And this has to do with the consent calendar. So, I'm uneasy with this new language that it says as many items as possible are to be placed on the Board of Supervisors consent calendar by all departments with matters by the board. And then when the other addition would be is when matters are unclear between action and consent, the department approach should be to favor consent, since the board members can and will remove consent items if any questions arise prior to agenda action. I just think that that is kind of really weighing things to the consent side, and it should be more, I think the intent is proposed item or items appropriate and clearly routine in nature and do not require individual consideration should be on the consent calendar, instead of this whole idea of put everything on the consent calendar and then it's the board's responsibility to pull it off. I don't think that's what the public transparency, and then the public thinks that we're trying to hide things in the consent calendar too. I just think it's better, hey, if it's appropriate to be on the consent calendar, put it on.
So are you suggesting that we remove that whole first red line on page 16?
If I may, through the chair,
Yes.
can I make one comment? So that section came directly from policy 15. It is the way policy 15 is currently written. So over the last year, the executive office has really taken a deep dive into all of the countywide policies. And so we have identified two policies, policy 15 and policy 8, which we believe would be incorporated in into the rules and procedure. So the wording that you just read off is the exact wording that is currently on policy 15. So we took it word for word.
Maybe we need to change policy 15.
So the goal would be, if this is approved, we would bring back policy 15 to rescind it once this is incorporated. But we're open to suggestions, but that is currently how policy 15 reads.
Thank you.
No.
Supervisor Mohan?
Thank you. When I read through the agenda, I actually appreciated the way that that item was worded. And, I frankly have sat on this board for 5 years, and not all of my colleagues read the consent calendar, but you're exactly right. It is our job to be prepared. And so I think that the way that it was written is important for us to be able to streamline things and for staff to have some type of expectation. And it is our job and our role to pull items that we are concerned about or that our constituents might be concerned about. So I was in favor and support of that rewording.
Thank you. Supervisor Williams?
I would have a hard time knowing what my colleagues read, unless we give everybody a quiz. I think there's speculation there. I think there's instances where questions are asked because we want to add transparency, and we've already asked staff. I know I do this. I've already asked staff, but I'll ask in the meeting because I want the public to hear the question and the answer. I'm not sure in this language what unclear references. When matters are unclear between action and consent. Should matters be unclear?
Are you asking the?
I guess I'm asking the chair,
CEO?
or I'm asking anyone who was involved in authoring this. When matters are unclear between action and consent, shouldn't we ensure clarity before we get to the agenda submission?
If I may, through the chair, as I kind of noted before, we just took the wording straight from policy 15, so we'd have to go back and see where policy 15 originated from as to why things may have been unclear. Yes, we try to clarify anything before bringing any item to the board, whether it be consent or regular. But if it's the will of the board, we can change the wording to be.
I'm not necessarily against it, I just don't know what it means. And it sounds like Supervisor Haschak thinks we need to adjust policy 15 language. Do any of my colleagues understand what the unclear reference is?
I think it's, for me, I guess I would assume that it's a question of whether it's controversial or not would be the only unclear part for me. Supervisor Haschak?
Yeah, I think you're right on that, is that if it's unclear, you know, to a department head, it's like, is this going to be controversial or not? And, you know, if there's that kind of question, if it's an unclear question or unclear to the department head, then I think the default should be for transparency to have it on the regular agenda.
Supervisor Williams?
So how do we get into a situation where it's unclear to a department head? I think, or controversial. I think it's controversial when it shows up on an agenda as a surprise. Supervisors didn't have any insight, the public didn't have any awareness that something of this type would be coming, and then bam, it's there on the consent calendar. We're spending a lot of money. I wonder if we need to back up and look at the way we go about contracting and give awareness much earlier that we're engaging, there will be contracts coming forward up to a certain dollar amount for a specific purpose. Then when we see the contract on the agenda, it's non-controversial because there's already been an opportunity to talk about it in the as a concept.
Supervisor Klein?
Supervisor Williams, to your point, I think that the budget process is that opportunity for the public to know what we're allocating funds towards.
But if that's the case, then any of those items showing up should be non-controversial, which means they would go on the consent calendar,
That's
not
not the
because
only
it's
thing
unclear.
that makes something controversial.
Sorry?
That's not the only thing that would make something controversial.
So I think our policy is if it's controversial, it shouldn't be on the consent calendar. And I'm not sure what this language is adding beyond that.
If I may, through the chair. So this language was also created in 1987. So it's old language that has not been reviewed in quite some time. So once again, if we want to change it, that's fine. I also do want to point out that there is a review process that the chair goes through as well in our agenda review meetings, that if there is a controversial item too, that we could always have it pulled at that time at the chair's discretion.
And move to regular business.
Yes.
Supervisor Williams?
Well, I think what's controversial is this item taking language from 4 decades ago and inserting it into rules of procedure. That catches me by surprise.
I would agree, but that's also the policy that we have in place, and we can bring that policy back and modify it. Supervisor Haschak?
Well, I think some of those questions that Supervisor Williams had is listed there, you know, about equipment purchases less than $750,000. All of those things that are appropriate for the consent calendar. So I guess, you know, Supervisor Klein said there might be issues beyond this that make it unclear whether it's controversial or not. And I just think that if we have that kind of unclearness or question, the default should be put it on the regular calendar and let's just discuss it.
Okay, anyone else? Otherwise, we'll go to public comment. If you would, please state your name for the record.
Dee Pallison from District 5 here in Ukiah. I support Supervisor Haschak. I think Policy 15 was written in a time and where efficiency or in the spirit of efficiency, the board was trying to put more stuff on the consent calendar so meetings didn't take so long. Over the last year, I've seen you discuss more items than I think you have in the recent past, and I think that's really good. I think it shows us out here that you are really engaging, and we hear each of your opinions and thoughts on items. And I personally think and agree with Supervisor Haschak that we should err on the side of the regular calendar, that very specific things should be put on the consent calendar, and there's the list there I think is sufficient. But I think Policy 15 should be rescinded. I think it's outdated, and I would like to support Supervisor Haschak's change to this rule.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room? Madam Clerk?
Seeing two online, first is Peter McNamee.
I too would like to voice my support for Supervisors Haschak's amendment to this proposal. I think that makes a lot of sense. I also would add that as someone who, from a citizen standpoint, has to try to wade through the board's agenda on a regular basis, that the sheer number of items that are incorporated makes it very difficult for the public to get a handle on what decisions are really of import. And so I would hope that at least at some point that board would consider evaluating how to streamline your agenda so that only the items that the board really needs to take a position on are brought to the board, and that the department heads they get paid a lot of money, and with that pay should come responsibility and accountability for making decisions. So I would encourage the board to evaluate whether or not everything needs to be brought to the board that is being brought to the board, and set some guidelines to encourage department heads to be accountable for their own decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Next we have David A.
Happy New Year, Chair. Happy New Year, Board. So I believe it's item 26 that I spoke on last year. I came to a board meeting and spoke right there in front of you about the requirement as a matter of public policy that all members vote on every issue is an unconstitutional item. You cannot force people to vote. And I still believe that is an important issue to address. When you say that it is a matter of public policy, I don't know who came up with that idea that it should be a matter of public policy to force people to make a decision on everything that comes before you, because freedom of speech includes the freedom to not speak. That's part of our Constitution. And when I went and made a public records request on how that this rules of procedure was developed, I wanted to have information on communication between board members and other members of staff. I received 80 pages of garbage from Deputy County Counsel Godrowski. So I would hope that public records requests, when they pertain to important pieces of legislation like this, would be handled better, and better information would be deliverable and delivered to the public who wants to know how these things get made. So I wish that you would return to that small item at the end. I believe it's item 26. I don't have it right in front of me. I'm working from memory. As a matter of public policy, all members should vote on every item. It's not fair because you are trying to remove abstentions. Last year, Chair Hashtag spoke directly about removing abstentions. It's not constitutional. The Ukiah Daily Journal even had an op-ed about big deal, remove abstentions. I don't know, what constitutional scholar wrote that in Ukiah Daily Journal, in the Ukiah Daily Journal, but that was poor journalism. So I think we need to return to some fundamentals, keep the public and our right to know what's going on behind the scenes and how legislation is crafted, and keep our constitutional rights in mind when you do your work. Have a good new year. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, anyone else?
Seeing no further comment online.
Okay. Back to the board. Supervisor Haschak.
Well, I would move that we adopt the changes to page 6 and also to delete on pages, well, Appendix C, the new language.
Second.
Okay, we have a first by Supervisor Haschak, seconded by Supervisor Williams.
Through the chair, if I may.
Please.
Atlas Pearson, Senior Deputy Clerk of the Board. I just want to make sure that I've got it captured correctly for Rule 16. I have that the Clerk of the Board in coordination with the Chair, and then we'll modify require to request. And then we'll ensure that we're notifying the Board of Supervisors of those deadlines, and we'll probably do that by way of the submission deadline document. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Any more discussion on the motion? None. Madam Clerk, if you take roll, please.
Chair Norvell?
Yes.
Supervisor Mulhern?
Yes.
Supervisor Williams?
Yes.
Supervisor Klein?
Aye.
Supervisor Haschak?
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to item R5, discussion and possible action, including adoption of the 2026 Board of Supervisors Master Meeting Calendar. Again, Clerk of the Board.
Good morning again, Atlas Pearson, Senior Deputy Clerk of the Board of Supervisors. So in preparing the calendar this year, we followed closely with the same process that we have the last couple of years. You'll notice that you have some workshops this January, next week. And then everything else kind of follows suit with what we've done over the past couple of years. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions.
Questions from the board? No? Seeing Supervisor Williams.
Move approval.
Okay. We'll go to public comment. Madam Clerk.
Seeing no comment online.
Anyone in the room? None? Okay, we have a first by Supervisor Williams. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Klein. Madam Clerk, if you take roll.
Supervisor Williams?
Yes.
Supervisor Klein?
Aye.
Chairman Norvell?
Yes.
Supervisor Mulhern?
Yes.
Supervisor Haschak?
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, we'll move on to item R6, discussion and possible action, including appointment of standing committee members pursuant to historical practice and adoption of resolution regarding board standing committee for 2026. Again, Clerk of the Board.
Good morning again, Atlas Pearson, Senior Deputy Clerk of the Board of Supervisors. So these appointments come directly from the incoming chair recommendations pursuant to historical practice. For this year, it would be, the appointees would be Mulhern and Haschak. And if we could also get an indication of which of those two members would be appointed as the chair, if appointed as well.
Thank you. Is there an opinion from either Mulhern or Haschak on chair? Mulhern?
I love to be the
Okay. Supervisor Haschak?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Did you get that, Clerk?
I believe so. Was it Supervisor Mulhern as chair?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. So we will move to public comment. Nobody in the room, Madam Clerk?
Seeing none online.
Okay. We, Supervisor Williams?
Move approval.
Second.
First by Supervisor Williams, seconded by Supervisor Haschak. Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Mulhern. Supervisor Klein.
Aye.
Supervisor Hashak.
Aye.
Supervisor Williams.
Aye.
Supervisor Norville.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, we'll move on to item R7, discussion and possible action, including approval of board special assignments, appointments as recommended by the chair of the board. Again, clerk of the board.
Good morning, Atlas Pearson, Senior Deputy Clerk of the Board. So once again, we prepared this historical to past practices. Each supervisor was given kind of a form or like a poll to fill out with their preferences. Those preferences were gathered, transmitted to the chair, and the chair made selections based on those. And what you see before you today is the result of that process. On this list, you'll have everything included other than, of course, that PPFC item that was a separate item, as well as the general government committees, which you previously approved.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Supervisor Haschak?
Well, again, you know, with this, the Inland Water and Power Commission, that I just think that we're paying, what, $84,000 of general fund money to the IWPC for their actions. And, the resolution we passed was supportive of what they've been doing there. I've seen Supervisor Klein and Supervisor Mulhern attending all of the meetings, and I just think that we should have someone there who really supports the resolution that we passed as a county, because this is the Inland Water and Power Commission should represent the whole county and our view for moving forward with the Eel River diversion project and all of that. So I would move that we have Supervisor Mulhern as the appointee and Supervisor Klein as the alternate.
Supervisor Klein?
Thank you. Again, I'm going to go back and disagree with the characterization of the previous resolution. I had asked for there to be language around supporting the needed infrastructure in terms of storage to make the new diversion facility all work and work for the communities that have relied on that water for a very long time. I question whether this should be taken seriously given there wasn't even an understanding of what the other assignment was. You originally had proposed removing me off of something that was completely unrelated. So I just question whether we should take this seriously. And I also want to mention that for IWPC, it's historically gone to the first districts because it's very important that the unincorporated area have that representation. No disrespect to Supervisor Mulhern, I appreciate her being a part of IWPC, being there for a long time, but the city of Ukiah already has a seat on IWPC. And it's important that the unincorporated areas of our county are thoroughly represented. And if something is questioned and then it's seen as a threat to the work that's being done, I think that's just a cover-up of, we only want people who say yes. If you're not willing to ask hard questions.
Okay. Supervisor Williams?
Yeah, I think it's an uncomfortable conversation. And I find Supervisor Klein to be effective and capable and frankly great to work with. And I know there are a lot of District 1 constituents who would like to go a different way with water policy that is really contrary to where IWPC and its partners are trying to take us. So I think it's more a question for you to make a choice. Are you willing to advocate for the county's position and back IWPC? Or do you need to represent those constituents who see it differently? And I can respect either of those. If you say that you have a lot of constituents who want to take on a fight and don't like the direction this is going, by all means, you represent them. But it may be incompatible to do that and to be actively engaged in IWPC, because I don't know, if you have that other fight going on, I don't know how IWPC members will feel trust from the county. So I don't have a position yet, but I guess I'd like you to think about it. And I appreciate that you're in an awkward position, because I think all 5 of us care about water security. The Potter Valley, it's not just giving people there who want to fight an opportunity to have their voice heard. The county backing that voice impacts water security for District 5 and for the county as a whole. So that's why I'm not showing up to fight Potter Valley. I'm showing up concerned about District 5's water security long term. And I see the best hope, and I think the majority of the county has spoken, the best hope for ensuring water security is working as a coalition, working with partners, respecting the tribal water rights. Some of the ideas that I don't see all constituents in District 1 ready to accept yet. So what do we do with this? Are you willing to make a choice to sort of allegiance to IWPC and the county's position, or do you feel like you need to stand back and represent some of your constituents who aren't ready for IWPC's approach?
I want to remind this board that when we serve on these special assignments, we're not there representing necessarily our own opinions and views. We're there to represent the Board of Supervisors. And so when I felt that there needed to be a conversation at the board level, I partnered with Supervisor Norvell to have that conversation to allow for an opportunity from the board level. When I'm at IWPC, I'm there representing Mendocino County Board of Supervisors. When I serve on IRPA on behalf of IWPC, I'm there representing IWPC. You can't box anyone in and say you have to commit to supporting one thing indefinitely forever. We all have different projects that we're working on. We all are wanting what's best for our communities, but no one's going to put me on the spot and say you have to all in on one thing or we're going to yank you off it. If that's going to be the case, go ahead and yank me off of it, because we're all allowed to evolve and have different policy positions.
Yeah, so I would just like to add that the resolution that Supervisor Klein and I brought, I didn't feel was controversial at all. I think parts that were conceived to be controversial was the support of the Potter Valley residents, but that resolution also included support for the IWPC and the alternative solution. It wasn't one-sided. So if that's not what we want from a representative, somebody that is willing to listen to their district, speak up for their district, but also at the same time represent the entire county, then I would agree with Klein that maybe you have the wrong person on the agenda, and it should be somebody else. And I'm not saying, because Supervisor Mulhorn, that it's been recommended to you that you are the opposite of that. I think you would be fine, and I think you would represent both. But as far as challenging Supervisor Klein's willingness to pick a side here today, or we're not going to put you on this, I just don't see that being her. I think she represented both sides with the resolution that was brought up today. So again, if that's what the board is looking for, somebody to carry the water, I'm not sure Supervisor Klein is going to be the right one, because I do believe that she will continue to represent both her district and the county as a whole. Supervisor Klein?
Yeah, I was interested in hearing from Supervisor Hashak where this idea came from, because I'm concerned that there's a lot of outside influence on our board meetings, and that resolution that came up in November, the alternative resolution, was brought by an outside entity. And so I'm just curious if you could take a moment to share where this idea came from.
Certainly. The idea came from my conversations with many people in the community. And, we have this resolution that the board passed, and we had 2 people who voted against it. And so, you know, and you, as a person who voted against it, which was, the resolution was to support the work of the IWPC and to look for greater storage capacity and education. And those are the things that the IWPC really needs to be working on. And I think that this needs to be representative of the whole county, because this is, you know, the whole Eel River diversion project, that affects the whole county. And so that's where it's coming from. You know, I would like to have, and I think that the people I've talked to like to have the idea that the person on our representative for the IWPC is a person who represents the full board and our position going forward with that resolution.
Okay, I will just reiterate that I feel that the resolution that Klein and I brought forward did do that. It represented the not only the people of Potter Valley, but also the people that supported the alternative. The reason I voted no on the second resolution is because there was an unwillingness to even listen to modifying the language. So that told me that it was a done deal for me before it got here, that there was no willingness to, you know, hear the other side out and say, hey, can we come to a resolution and get a 5-0 vote on this? I believe that's the question that was asked. And the answer was a hard no. That's why I voted no on it. It wasn't just to represent Potter Valley and not represent the entire county. So, Supervisor Williams.
So leading up to that, I heard grumblings about should the county have a seat at the table in this process? Should the county be involved in IRPA? So your resolution, I believe you that your intention was it's just giving a voice and that no harm can come from it. It seemed like, from what I was hearing, harm could come from it. That if the county doesn't work with partners, we may be left out. We don't, you know, you look at what are your cards? We don't have the cards. And so we're sort of at the mercy of, can we build strong relationships and work with partners? And so I'm still undecided what to do. I think there needs to be an ongoing conversation. If all 5 of us can agree the county has decided on policy and we're all going to get behind it moving forward, that's one thing. But if there's if it's a split board and there's a fight that's going to go on to move in a direction that's contrary to the resolution that was passed in IWPC, it becomes a more difficult dynamic.
Okay, we'll go to the public. Anybody in the room like to speak on this item?
Dee Pallison from District 5. I would just like to offer my support of Supervisor Klein to sit on the IWPC for the reasons that she stated, that individuals and the board can evolve. I think that she has proven that she is invested in the issue represented by IWPC and that she has the integrity to support the views of the board and the position of the board without putting her own or her district's positions first. She's proven that she has the intelligence to balance that. And if she volunteered for this, I think we should support her in that. It's a big job. It's a big issue in this county right now. And I think she's shown that she has a clear voice on this and that, again, that she has the integrity to represent the position of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sheriff?
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Matt Kendall, Sheriff. I also support Supervisor Klein remaining on this because my thought process on it is pretty simple. We say that we want to represent the entire county, but what I'm hearing is we want to represent the entire county minus the folks from Potter Valley who were in here. That's what I'm hearing. And the issue for me is, if conflict is not a bad thing, conflict helps us meet in the middle. I've had conflict with members of the board in the past, and we've always met in the middle because we respected one another and we worked together. conflict is not a bad thing in this. And if we create an echo chamber where there's no dissenting voices, then next thing you know, the county winds up in a bad position because they haven't heard the downsides. I don't think that we really want that at this point. We want people who are going to take a hard look and represent the people of Mendocino County, of course, but all of you have to represent your districts as well. I run into similar issues where the state pushes out legislation and whatnot that is not good for Mendocino County. And a lot of times we have to work with our representatives to make sure that the rural areas are heard or we get run over. And some of that conflict, it's a good thing. It's a portion of making the soup. So I support Supervisor Klein remaining where she is. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning. My name's Helen Sizemore, District 2. My question is, why did Supervisor Klein vote against the resolution? How does that make her part of the, what everybody didn't vote for it, and she didn't vote for it, so why?
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Madam Clerk, anyone online?
Seeing no comment online.
Okay, thank you. We'll bring it back to the board for discussion. Supervisor Klein.
I think that every single constituent in Mendocino County should be concerned that if someone speaks out and then there's direct retaliation, we don't like what you said, and so we don't want this person to be at the table. That is a direct concern for our democracy, especially if the voices that Supervisor Hashek mentioned are the ones at IWPC, because they don't get to pick who sits on that board. That's for us to decide.
Supervisor Hashek.
Well, this is, it's not trying to stifle anyone's voice. It's really representing Mendocino County the best we can. And we have a resolution that we passed. And so it's like, how do we have that voice heard the best way possible? And that's just my proposal was just, you know, we've had this situation where Supervisor Mulheron's been the alternate for a long time, and she goes to all the meetings. So she voted in favor of the, you know, the resolution, which is a policy of the county now. And so it just seems like that would be the appropriate thing.
Thank you. Supervisor Mulhern.
Thank you. I did and have served on IWPC as both a city council member and as a county supervisor for the last 5 years. And I think the work that they are doing is incredibly important to the entire county. I also understand the position that Supervisor Klein is in, and being the first district supervisor, where Potter Valley being in the highlight of the decommissioning is really going to impact a lot of those residents, as well as people that own property on Lake Pillsbury, which is on the Lake County side, but many local people own properties there, people in Sonoma County. I was at the IWPC meeting when Supervisor Klein was asked by the members of IWPC if she would be able to move forward as the representative of IWPC in IRPA, and in, you know, even the public policy facilitating committee, all of the work that is centered around the Potter Valley project, because there are many boards and committees where that work falls in exactly what's happening with the decommissioning. I am happy to serve, and I always represent the entire county when I serve on any board or committee, not just the city of Ukiah. That's not how that works. So I think I appreciate that Supervisor Klein wants to continue as the appointee in that role with me as the alternate. And I would just say or ask Supervisor Klein that if you feel that you have too much pressure from not following what the board's resolution stated, or the way the work is continuing, that you yourself can come back to the board and say, you know what, I think it's probably best if I hop in the backseat because I'm not feeling the way that the board has directed. And I think that happens with a lot of things. Not everybody on this board supports the Great Redwood Trail Agency, but they don't serve in that assignment, and that's fine, right? But we, as the county, are represented with that agency or with that group. So I think our work is always to represent the county and is always to represent what happens here on the dais and how the board as a whole asks us to move forward, whether our own individual district goals or individual goals as supervisors matches that. That's not necessarily our job, and sometimes it comes down to that.
Okay. Supervisor Klein?
Yeah, I thank you, Supervisor Mulhern. I really appreciate those comments, and I appreciate working with you on this issue and being at those meetings together. I'm okay with that approach. What I'm not okay with are what some of the colleagues did say today around it has to be this or nothing indefinitely going forward. And I don't think we would ever ask someone else to box in on a policy in that regard. So if that is going to be the standard and it's going to be used as a gotcha moment later, by all means, we all have a vote on this. Let the cards fall where they fall.
Okay, we went to online, correct? Yeah, all right. Board will entertain a motion.
I'll accept all the recommendations on this, and that we just change Supervisor Mulhern as the appointee and Supervisor Klein as the alternate for the IWP.
Okay, first by Supervisor Haschak. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, first by Supervisor Haschak, seconded by Williams. Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Klein?
No.
Supervisor Mulhern?
No.
Supervisor Haschak?
Yes.
Supervisor Williams?
Yes.
Chair Norvell?
No.
The motion fails with Supervisor Klein, Supervisor Mulhern, and Chair Norvell dissenting.
Okay, so we still need to pass this item. So is there a second motion?
I'll move the
I'm sorry,
recommendation.
Supervisor Klein.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the recommended action, second by Klein, seconded by Williams. Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Williams?
Yes.
Supervisor Norvell?
Yes.
Supervisor Haschak?
Yes.
Supervisor Klein?
Aye.
Supervisor Mulhern?
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you. Moving on, we have a scheduled break for 10:30, but we have a public hearing next. Do we have time to get through this, you think?
If I may, through the chair, it may be good to, I look to the assessor to see about the timing of it. Will it take? Okay, I think we can.
Then we'll move along. Item R8, notice of public hearing, discussion and possible action, including approval to establish shorter Williams-Mack contracts effective calendar year 2025 pursuant to state statute making the requisite finding pursuant to Government Code 16142.1D and direction to staff to notify all affected landowners of final decision and the right to prevent the reduction in term by serving notice of non-renewal.
Good morning, Katrina Bartlemy, Assessor, Clerk Recorder. First of all, there is a typo in this that we
Excuse
didn't
me,
catch.
I'm just gonna open it is 10:09, we'll open the public hearing, please.
Thank you. First, there is a typo. It's for calendar year 2026 rather than 2025 in the agenda, but everything else, the notices all say 2026. So it's for the year 2026. So this is an annual thing that we are required to do. Back in 2010, thereabouts, the state stopped subvention money to the counties for Williamson Act properties. So at that time, the Board of Supervisors decided, which was all written within the AB 1265, decided to create 9-year contracts rather than 10-year contracts to bring a little bit of revenue into the county for the loss of the subvention money from the state. So this is just an annual item that we are required to do to continue the non-year contract. If property owners don't like this, then, or if the board decides to change, there is the possibility that we could go into non-renewal to some items, to some property owners, excuse me. But in the past, we've always just gone ahead with the 9-year contracts. So as long as the property owners are in compliance, there should be no problem with this at all. And we've recently sent out a survey to all property owners in Williamson Act, and we are processing them now to make sure people are in compliance with the rules and procedures.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? Supervisor Haschak.
Yeah. Is the state reimbursing us for the Williamson Act?
No.
And how long has that gone on?
Since 2010 or thereabouts.
So for all that time, we're losing this revenue, right? And the state's not reimbursing us.
Correct.
Do we have an idea how much money that is?
You know, I was going to look at that. It's and I'm sorry I didn't bring that. I can let you know. I apologize for that.
No, is my apology for not asking you beforehand.
I'm sorry. I thought it was on this paperwork. It's hold on just one second. I also brought the assistant assessor with me. Do you remember? This is Tanya Mounts, the assistant assessor. Oh, going to look it up. So, sorry. Do you want to wait for that, or do you want to just...
Yeah, we can come back after public comment.
Okay, that sounds good.
Any questions from the board? No more?
If I may, through the chair, it actually might be in the agenda summary. Hold on one moment.
Okay. Supervisor Klein?
Unrelated comment, just want to voice my support for the Williamson Act contracts, very essential to preserving our agricultural property, and thank the assessor for all of the work that she does to keep that as a part of our county.
All right, we'll go to public comment. Anybody in the room like to comment on this item? Thank you, sir. And if you could state your name for the record, please.
My name is Bob Edwards. I represent Reddy Ranch in Redwood Valley on Finney Road. And I wanted to say that I drove truck for 57 years, over 10 million miles. And we have fought for years to try to make a living off this piece of small ground. And I'm 4 months from being 80 years old, and it's the only thing I have to make a living off of now. So we don't want to lose our ag status. And so anyway, I'm not very smart. I don't have an education, and listening to you guys, I can get about 1 or 2 words out of your conversations because I don't have a large vocabulary. I'm self-educated, and I actually quit school in the 1st grade, so that's why I'm not too smart. But the thing is I can work hard, and I can make this work. I have to make it work because I have no choice, and try to make a living off of it. And we have calves on it, and I have right now I have them in Willits trying to survive. But anyway, we are trying to proceed to we pay like $3,000 in taxes every year on this property, twice a year, So it is almost more than we can pay, especially now that that I can't get hired as a driver because in '97 the state declared me 100% disabled, and but I own my own truck, so I had to for 50 years I made it work. I didn't slow down, but the state still declares me 100% disabled. So what happens is nobody will hire me because nobody hires anybody in a wheelchair. They may not admit to that, but that's really what happens. And so I ask the board not, or whoever's in charge of this agriculture, that they don't take my permit, so I can still try to make a living and still try to make a living out of something that's almost impossible. The grape farmers are just, and marijuana, they pass laws. I'm sorry, I'm over my time. But anyway, I'd appreciate it. I come today to say we'd appreciate that if we don't lose our ag rights so that we can at least try to make a living. We may not make the best living, but we could have a chance to make a living.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else in the room? Madam Clerk, anyone online?
Seeing no further comment online.
Okay.
Katrina Bartlemy, Assessor, County Clerk Recorder. Exactly what, Mr. Redding said. We fight every day for our ag land. It's not just us in Mendocino County, it's all over Northern California. So it is very important. And Tanya did get me some figures. What we do get reimbursed a little bit from the state, $536,000. But what we would have been reimbursed through subvention this year would have been $2.25 million. So it is quite a bit of difference. But again, we are an ag county, and we're very proud of that. So, question.
Thank you. Yes, Supervisor Williams.
Yeah, so we don't have enough revenue to sustainably pay market wages to hardworking public servants or maintain our roads. This is, and I support Williamson Act concept, and the goal is to keep resource land together. We want that as our character in this county. So my comment is not against the Williamson Act, but it's to highlight you can't fix national and state policy at a local level. We're the recipients of policy that's shuffled funds in such a way that we don't have long-term sustainability. As a supervisor, I don't know what to do with it. I think that Supervisors has checks question, how much are we losing on this deal? We are on the losing end of something that we support.
Supervisor Haschak.
Yeah, I think you're totally right, Supervisor Williams, and it's like we support the Williamson Act. We want to keep our ag land, and the state has created this program that they're not funding us for, and so maybe we should send the bill for $2 million for this year to Sacramento.
Second.
Okay. And, have our lobbyist really working on it, because it's not right. We're not able to pay our bills, and yet the state owes us $2 million. So let's get that, let's get working on it.
Supervisor
Yeah, I'd like
Williams.
to second Supervisor Haschak's, and we should include a copy of a state audit that finds revenue is not keeping up with expenses, right? The state just did that work for us, highlighting we have a structural deficit going forward. Part of the reason is because of state policy that we're not getting the funds to offset Williamson Act implementation.
Exactly.
So in the other counties, just so you know, Katrina Bartlemy, Assessor, Clerk Recorder, the other counties that AB 1265 was, that allowed us to go to shorter contracts are Kings County, Madera County, Mendocino County, Merced, Shasta, and Stanislaus. So we are the few, what's that, 6 or 7 of us? I didn't count, that are in this to allow Williamson Act. Down in Imperial Valley and stuff, they completely did away with Williamson Act. I don't know what else they did, but speaking for, I'm, you know, I grew up in ag, so, you know, I think as an individual that this is one of the most important things that we can have for our county. You know, I raised steers, I raised everything I could in 4-H and FFA, and, you know, this is important. I've done nothing but work cows for summer and, you know, with my second parents. And so it's very important to see how ag people live and what we do and how we love our land and how we love our animals. So, and I'm just talking that. I'm not talking about vineyard. I mean, I drink wine like all the rest of you do. But, you know, this is very important.
Thank you.
You.
Any more questions? Yes, Supervisor.
Just to go on with what Ms. Bartolome said, you know, it is really important for the county to have this Williamson Act. It's just the issue is that the state is not keeping their end of the bargain with it. And so here they're saying that we have this deficit problem, we have a revenue problem that we aren't collecting enough, and then they're contributing to this problem. And so how do we, you know, let's use all of our resources that we're spending for lobbyists and everything to really get that money.
Supervisor.
Supervisor Haschak, would you like us to give direction?
Yes, well, make it as a motion, I guess.
Would you restate the motion?
Well, I think it has
Before
to be
we get to a motion, I'm just going to end any more public.
Yeah.
Are there any questions from staff?
I'm sorry, Katrina Bartlome. I forgot to mention, within the next couple of months, we will be bringing forward those surveys that need to go into non-renewal. So we have, you know, a little stack of them now, and our senior appraisers are all helping do the surveys to make sure people are in compliance. So we will be bringing those that needed to go into non-renewal throughout this next year. So that'll help a little bit, just so you know that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions for staff? No? Okay, it's 10:23. We will close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for discussion and or action. Supervisor Haschak.
Well, I would move the recommended action along with direction to staff to use all our resources with the lobbyist to get full payment of the subvention money.
I would second that. Does that include sending a bill?
If appropriate.
Second.
Okay, we have a first by Supervisor Haschak, seconded by Williams. Any discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, if you take roll.
Supervisor Haschak?
Aye.
Chair Norvell?
Yes.
Supervisor Mulhern?
Yes.
Supervisor Klein?
Aye.
Supervisor Williams?
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to R9, Chief Executive Officer's Report. I understand that's been withdrawn.
Yeah, if I may through the chair, there is no report.
Okay. Move to, it's 10:25. Do we want to take our break now? Is that good with everybody? The legislative platform up, or we can just move on. Keep going. Discussion and possible action, including review, adoption, amendment, consideration, or ratification of legislation pursuant to the executive legislative platform. I believe what we are saying today is the work of Supervisor Williams and Mulhern. Either of you like to go?
The work is as the board previously directed, and I'd like to thank Supervisor Mulhern for doing the heavy lift of the red line. Sounds easy, but it wasn't to track down the original document.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? No, we'll go to public comment. Anyone in the room? Yes, please.
Yes, I'd like to thank Morning, supervisors and staff. I'd like to thank Supervisor Williams and Mulheron for doing that work. I went through it with a comb as well, and hats off to the work that you did. I was really pulled with the former discussion about the IWPC, and I just want to put the idea forward that we all evolve on our decisions in that IWPC. The whole Potter Valley project is a lot of, you think about it, you change your mind, you bend. And I think this legislative platform is an example of that. We all looked at it, oh my goodness, this isn't enough. We need to be specific about water catchment, sea level rise. How can we do that? And I'm all for what we ended up with, and I hope you all are too. I also wanted to reference what you were talking about with the Williamson Act, and I hope something like that is put in the legislative platform. I didn't look at that under whatever it was, land use or whatever, however that can be plugged in. And finally, I'd like to say, what good is this legislative platform going to do? We have to put some oomph behind it. So to whatever extent you need help with that, at least the environmental community is here behind you all the way. And I'm sure we can find other supporters too. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room?
Through the chair, if I may, could I please get a statement of the speaker's name?
Get it? No one else in the room? Madam Clerk?
Seeing one online, Peter McNamee.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to this issue. I want to echo the comments of Eileen Mitro. This platform statement has been extensively reviewed and discussed by a large number of people in the county. I know personally that I emailed out copies of this proposed language to over 300 people in Mendocino County, many of whom provided input to supervisors about the content. That list of people represents an included representation from every supervisorial district in the county. And by overwhelming consensus, there was agreement that climate change is real, that denying it is a horrible mistake, that we actually need to move aggressively forward to not only mitigate and couture, to mitigate and reduce the causes of climate change, but also to adapt to an environment that is going to be different than the one that we have historically lived in. And when I look through the elements of proposed changes here, I see a lot of consensus in the community for those elements, and a lot of enthusiasm for the board moving forward unanimously, hopefully, in support of those elements as we go forward. We have already surpassed the tipping point that was set of 1.5 degrees Celsius increase in global warming. It is having a tremendous negative effect across the planet and here locally. We've seen droughts, we've seen wildfires that have devastated our community. We see flooding that equally devastates many of our residents. We're seeing sea level rise that puts at threat our local coastal communities and their well-being. This isn't just about property. In many cases, it's about threats to people's lives. So I would encourage and hope that the board would support this unanimously. Thank you. to both supervisors for their work on this issue.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
We have one more, Marcy Snyder.
Have you let her in yet? Otherwise, we'll go to the room. Okay. We're going to take the last online call first.
Marcy, we're unable, excuse me, Marcy, we're unable to hear you. You might need to unmute your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you go. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, supervisors. I'm glad this is before you. I encourage you to vote unanimously for it. We are definitely globally and locally in a climate emergency, as seen locally by the numerous fires and the potential for flooding. I urge you, I'm not going to make it long. I just support with the previous callers who are in support of this legislation, these policies moving forward. I just encourage you to vote yes. I'm not going to take a lot of your time today. I appreciate Supervisors Williams and Mohara's work on this. Thank you very much. Please, everybody, all 5 of you, move forward with this. This is what the residents, the voters who put you into your positions, who you represent, want. Thank you so much. I hope you have a productive, good day and support the residents of our community.
Thank you.
Helen Sizemore, 2nd District, Ukiah. I totally support the legislative platform that you've created, and I want to make sure that you all know that we want you to vote yes on it. Thank you.
Okay. And no one else online?
Seeing no further comments online.
Thank you. We'll bring it back to the board for action or discussion. Supervisor Haschak.
Well, just going back to the previous conversation about the Williamson Act, I found it in our ledge platform, and it says support the restoration of Williamson Act, California Land Conservation Act, subvention funds. Mendocino County, like most other rural counties, is dependent on state funding to offset the loss of property tax revenue to the county. Without a resumption of subvention payments, the county budget will suffer a detrimental impact. And I think that's exactly what we were talking about earlier, so I support that. And I support this language, and it's kind of unfortunate that we've gotten to this point after several months of dealing with this, because I think that if originally the issue of should we change our language to accommodate the current administration was brought to the board, we could have given direction at that point and saved a lot of this kind of back and forth and kind of do we use this word or that word, or so anyway, I support the legislative platform as is.
Anyone else? None? Okay, we'll entertain a motion to approve. Supervisor Williams.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, first by Supervisor Williams, seconded by Klein. Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Haschak.
Yes.
Supervisor Williams.
Yes.
Supervisor Norville.
Yes.
Supervisor Mulhern.
Yes.
Supervisor Klein.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our 11 Supervisor report regarding board special assignments, standing and ad hoc committee meetings, and other items of general interest. Anybody have anything to report? Supervisor Williams?
I'm always good for a comment. Pretty much everything my constituents bring to me, and frankly, I think it will probably come up during labor negotiations, has a requirement that the county be able to produce accurate, credible, up-to-date financial reports. 2026, we're going into a new year. I think this is still a major problem. We should make it the #1 priority. My constituents, probably yours, want the board to fix long-standing problem. It's not about anyone's performance, because you go back in the records, this county hasn't had reports as far back as I can see that make any sense. right? The ones on typewriters, nobody had the internet to really do the fact checking. They weren't watching Zoom, right? So we've all stepped into a role where there's a mess. It's our job to clean it up. And I think that cleanup involves getting software that works, using it in a way that makes sense, training staff, and making sure that we're working with the other elected department heads, because none of us can fix this ourselves. It's a group effort. And when I look at our strategic plan, it doesn't really touch on it, and I don't get the sense that we're moving any closer towards a resolution. I think we're going to be in the same position we were last year of throwing our hands up and saying, well, we don't have the information. You can do that one year. I don't think you can do it year after year. We lose credibility. So I guess I'd like to hear from my colleagues. I'd like to hear from staff. How do we establish a priority early in 2026 that this is something that we are going to fix?
I think the suggestion there would be the workshop at the end of the month, and our list of priorities would be a good start.
Chair, can we ask that rather than have a supervisor throw out the idea at that workshop, could we today direct that staff bring a plan back for addressing that to the workshop with some options?
My only concern there would be time frame, but we could make it a topic of discussion. I'm not sure how the list of priorities are going to be presented on the agenda that were submitted by the board, but I'm fine with making that topic of discussion. And Ms. Pierce?
If I may, through the chair, Sarah Pierce, Assistant CEO, I believe it could be part of a topic. It is also called out in the state audit. So we do have a section on the workshop regarding the state audit.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a discussion there.
Okay.
Sure, I won't dwell on it more, but if time is a concern, that highlights that we're not actively working on it already. And that is concerning to me, that I would think this is the number one priority. Everything else that this county does in the next year has a foundational piece that's very weak. Why aren't we working on that? And I'm not blaming staff. Staff you're under-resourced, underfunded, you don't have the right board direction, but it's our job to fix this, and I don't see that going into the new year, we're on track. Like, it's barely on our radar. Why is that? All of my ideas submitted are about this particular item, so there's also been awareness that it's coming.
If I may, through the chair.
Yes.
Additionally, the workshop, there's no action that's able to be taken, but also CEO Antle has her hand up. She'd like to make a comment.
Please.
Good morning, Chair Norvell. If I may, through you, address Supervisor Williams. If this board recalls, they did approve a contract with Ben Rosenfeld to start helping develop a work plan to move forward. Items at the workshop are not voted. There's no action to be taken at the workshop. So there are steps that are being taken and items that will be presented with information for you at the workshop, but there's a lot of work to do on this item, and it does require a lift from all of us, not just the executive office. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein? No? Supervisor Haschak? Okay. Ted, I'm sorry, Supervisor Williams?
You can call me Ted.
Okay.
I mean, I appreciate it. Everybody's doing what they can, but I don't think collectively we're doing enough. And this is something that needed to be solved years ago. And so my angst is we're working on it. Hasn't been language that translates to reaching the desired goal yet. Maybe that's changing, but I think what would move the needle is for the board to direct staff. This is the number one priority, because it impacts everything else we do. You only have one number one priority, right? Everything else is going to be lower than that. Make this the number one for this year. Get it done.
I think that's the opportunity for that, and the discussion for that will come at the workshop under priorities. And I personally agree with you. I would recommend between now and the workshop that you work with staff and bring them those concerns that you have in an attempt for them to be prepared at the meeting to answer those questions. Any or all of them, but I'm just not sure how much action we can take under this agenda item. Please.
Yeah, Chair, would the chair be willing to entertain the idea that at the workshop, we should be able to take action? I don't think that, I mean, the Brown Act doesn't prohibit us from taking action at a workshop. It just has to be properly noticed.
I think the fact, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think the public may ask, why are you having a workshop where you can't take action?
My understanding, and I believe the way it happened last year, is we brought forward recommendations to regular board meetings from the workshop. Yeah, I'm personally fine with that. I mean, I think we're talking 2 weeks, unless anybody has any objections to that process. Okay. Yes,
Can
sir.
I just add?
Please.
Yeah, that last year when we came up with some ideas that needed action from the workshop, some of those happened maybe within a month or so, but some took months and months to really come before the board again. And so I think what Supervisor Williams is asking for is that we don't let that happen. We kind of, even if we have to agendize something in the board meeting around the budget, or, you know, and this could be part of the budget, right? Talk, that maybe that needs to be agendized and just have that part open for public comment. So, you know, I feel that frustration, and, you know, let's move this forward.
Supervisor Williams.
Yeah, just for clarity, this shouldn't be a lift for staff to prepare specifics. I'm not asking for specifics and dollars. The only action I want the board to take is to establish fixing the financial system as a top priority to the county in 2026. And then I expect that will trigger a whole lot of agenda items coming forward with specific proposals over the course of a year. But at least staff will recognize the board has said this is what we care about most getting done first this year. If we don't do that, I think it'll just be a back burner because every other fire is going to be put out throughout the year and we're never going to get to solving this core problem. And I guess I'm okay with some of those other fires burning for a little while to address the fundamental problem first.
Okay. Well, again, I think at the workshop is that's going to be your window, and see any restrictions on you making your case at that point. Supervisor Klein?
Thank you. I'll give a brief report. I'm happy to say that the Redwood Valley Community Action Plan was approved at the Planning Commission in December. It's very good news for Redwood Valley and the folks that worked very hard on that plan. My understanding is it'll be coming before us in Q1. I had a meeting with the new fire chief for Redwood Valley Calpella Fire Department, Chief Creel. We're really excited to have him back at the department. I had a meeting with Mendocino County Resource Conservation District to discuss potential changes to the Potter Valley project and how we can work together to deliver any needed relief to the farmers, the ranchers, the school in Potter Valley. All of those folks are going to need a lot of help. And I wanted to take some time to highlight the state audit that was released on December 18th. I spent a lot of time on that over the last couple weeks. I heard some comments from the community that we were sweeping this under the rug and not discussing it, and so I want to ensure that that's not what we're doing. We were not allowed to discuss the audit, of course, until it was released, and this is our first meeting since it was released. My understanding is it will be discussed quite a bit at our workshop next week, and I have no doubt that we will continue to discuss it even beyond our workshop after hearing the comments from my colleagues today.
Thank you. Supervisor Haschak.
Yeah, I went to the training facility for medical assistants for MCOE right before the holidays, and really an incredible facility they have out there in Talmadge. I also had a meeting yesterday with people from Coloma, which is, they're exploring for liquid hydrogen. And right now they're reaching out to property owners in the southeast corner of the county to seek permission to do underground sound testing trials. So these are very non-invasive, and they're just trying to see if that area near the geysers right now has liquid nitrogen. And so it's an interesting concept, and you know, if people have outreach, you know, to them, that's kind of the general idea about what they're doing. They have a lot more information, but they can contact me if if there's any questions or they need to contact any of the people from Coloma. We had a MSARA meeting in December that it's been a good year for the stock market and everything. The last 3 years have been. The MSARA is now 76.4% funded. There was a 12.33% net rate of return, and last year, the 24-25 year, 9.64 for the 24 or for the 5-year net rate of return. And as of June 30th, the assets for MSARA were valued at $793,600,000, up from a total asset value of $715 million at the start of the fiscal year. And now it's over, like $830 million. So the MSARA is looking healthy at this point. The 6.5% is the assumed investment rate of return, so we've met that and much more. And the combined fees that this represents for the total managers' fees paid are 57 basis points for the fiscal year. This has come down because they're going more to index funds, and so it's lowered the managerial cost. And I think we're going to have a presentation from MSARA at the workshop. So they'll have a lot more information on that. I just wanted to give you a heads up on some of the highlights.
All right, seeing no more reports, we do have one more item to address, and that is C5.
Well, I'll move C5 for approval.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do we need to go back to public comment?
I would defer to acting County Counsel Brina.
It's not going to hurt to go back, right? Whether or not we need to go back to public comment on C5, we discussed it.
The item was pulled, did you?
We did it once. You know what? We'll just do it.
Okay,
We can't get in trouble doing it again. We'll open up the room to public comment on item C5. Nobody in the room, Madam Clerk?
Seeing none online.
Okay, back to the board. Entertain a motion for C5 by Supervisor Haschak and seconded by Supervisor Williams. Madam Clerk, if you take the vote, please.
Supervisor Williams?
Yes.
Chair Norvell?
Yes.
Supervisor Haschak?
Aye.
Supervisor Mulhern? Supervisor Klein?
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, it is 10:48 and the board's going to recess into closed, and we will not be back no sooner than 11:25.
Do we have a break before we meet?
Yeah.
Come back at 11?
Yeah. reconvene the open portion of the meeting. Item we will adjourn.